It's time. It's time to get up, stand to your feet, and give this team its props. And guys, like I've been telling y'all, all we had to do was get a couple things to come together. And I'm going to second motion everything that I've heard this week. The only difference is, why did it have to take us being near the division title for us to get here? I'll tell you about that and more on this edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Growlers. Thank you all so much for joining us here on this first place edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Once again, you are joined by the one and only Mr. CeeLo and Panther Nation. We did it. We did it. We came, we saw, we handled our business. Which leaves us with 2 games remaining in first place. I want to say it feels absolutely great. But then again, it goes back to the show that I did about the Saints follow-up. And guys, this was one of those games where there weren't a whole lot of things that we did differently. You know, we couldn't run the football effectively. Bryce made some throws. Only difference is this time we executed. Coach Avero was aggressive. And even Coach Canellis at times coached like the effing man. Which is what it takes, guys. If you're going to be a championship caliber football team, you as a whole have to be the effing man. Whether it's players playing like the effing man, or coaches coaching like the effing man, or superstars playing like effing superstars. It all has to revolve around being the effing man. And now a word from our sponsor. He builds it, fixes it, lifts it, breaks it, then builds it again. The world calls him a man. We call him an effing man. TF Man, the lotion made for hands that earned it. Crafted from grass-fed tallow, squalene, and grit. No flowers, no fluff, just results. TF Man by LV. You guys know what kind of man a TF Man is? He's the man that gets it done. Just like me. Just like you. The one who doesn't need a filter. Like Mr. CeeLo. The one who doesn't need a hashtag or permission. He's not just a man. He's the effing man. And now he's got the lotion to match. What? TF Man, the whipped tallow cream from LV. Made from grass-fed beef tallow, squalene, and true grit. No chemicals, no perfume, just hand-earned hydration. For hands that build, lift, and live. Make sure you guys go online and check this out. Guys, I'm going to put the QR code up there on the screen. And if you guys put in the code FRIENDS20, you get 20% off your first order. Make sure you go over to their website. And guys, let me tell you, as a man that loves to look awesome and smell fabulous, this is perfect. I have been using it a couple of weeks, you guys, and I'm going to tell you, every time I get out the shower, I got to put it on my face and I got to put it on my hands. Because when you start getting to be my age, You got to start protecting all this, you guys, because guess what? The ladies not only like for you to look fabulous, they also want you to smell terrific. Because you don't want to just be the man. You want to be the man. Yeah, guys, I want to take this opportunity to wish you all a Merry Christmas. But the Panthers' 23-20 victory over the Buccaneers is almost a semi-reflection of the game against the Saints, even though there weren't nearly as many penalties in that game, which I told you guys that was just a one-off. I know many of you didn't think so, but it's like I told you guys, this was just one of those games that we have to just kind of, you don't want to totally throw it in the trash heap, but you kind of have to. But looking at the way this game took place, you got to start with the running game because it was non-existent. And you got people that are saying that Rico Dowdle was a dud, he was this and that. Look, teams are not going to let the Carolina Panthers run the ball. And the reason why I'm starting here, because majority of everything else I'm going to talk about is going to be good. Even Excel, because regardless of what many of you are going to say, he's got to make this catch, he's got to be aware of where he is on the field. I get all that. But we got to get the running game going, y'all. And I'm going to be honest with you. This is on Dave Canellis too. As well, as great of a game plan as he called, guys, he still did not call a good enough game plan. When I saw Jimmy Horn get that 25-yarder, which, by the way, I got to give so much love to Excel, to Tommy Tremble as well. Because we keep hearing, I'm going to keep harping on our tight ends because I'm tired of hearing local writers and reporters saying, we need to get a tight end in the draft. What for? All three of our tight ends made a magnificent, all three of our tight ends played a magnificent, intricate part in this win, as they have all season. So, guys, I want y'all to ignore all of the chatter that has been going around in the media or anybody around the National Football League that says all the Carolina Panthers need is a star tight end. They got the best of all three worlds. Mitchell Evans is a great blocker. Tommy Tremble's a great blocker. Jatavian Sanders is getting there. Mitchell Evans has great hands and is a good route runner. Jatavian Sanders, great hands and great route runner, able to read his quarterback along with Mitchell Evans. And even Tommy Tremble is much improved as a tight end. And it goes back to what I've been telling you guys. A player that's a receiver or a tight end is only as good or efficient as the game plan called for him. We could sit here and talk all day about Excel or even Jalen Coker. Look, realistically, Tetairoa McMillan is the guy that's getting the ball. Tet's the guy that's going to get the ball, and rightfully so. He is a matchup nightmare. But I don't want to get too far about that. I want to go back to the running game. Our wide receivers are big, physical, and they do a great job blocking on the outside, which is why I don't understand why we don't see more of those bunch formations when we want to run. Look, Canellis is really doing a good job in moments, but I'm not going to harp on him the whole game because he made some great coaching decisions, and this is going to be a long show, guys. I don't want it to be too long, but, guys, I was pleased with so many things I saw in whole. But the running game, we've got to get more creative. There's no reason why we should have 20 carries for 101 yards, and you've got Bryce Young with 4 carries, 20 yards, and Jimmy Horn 1 for 25. Now, Chuba Hubbard had a pretty good game running the ball, although he did got stymied on the goal line or right around inside the 5. But I would like to see more throws up as opposed to just, basic run principles. I mean, you see what Tampa did with Mike Evans several times. Tet can be that guy. Jalen Coker can be that guy. Mitchell Evans can be that guy. Bryson Tremaine can be that guy. Look, we can't make this complicated. If teams are just shutting us down running the football, we've got a basketball team out there at receiver. I know I said that with a northern accent. Not funny. But We've got to do better with it. Look, if a team you're trying to run away from Vita Vea, I get it. But it goes back to, I can't remember, was it Schlereth that was on the broadcast? I think it was. He said, you got to go back to what you're doing, running between the tackles. I get it. Vita Vea's in there. I totally understand it. But you got to get creative with your block scheme. Or better yet, Jimmy Horn had that 25-yarder. Do it again. Or if anything else, send Horn down the formation and see what it produces. And then hand the ball off to Chuba or hand it off to Rico. Look, I have got to have at least 5 plays that come off of that. We saw Christian McCaffrey when he was here take 2 or 3 to the house when all we did was send DJ Moore down the formation. Look, coach, you've got some brilliant play calls and designs. You need to amplify those. Make them deeper. More formations with Jimmy Horn Jr. out there. Because this is a guy who is a playmaker. Without a doubt. And as much as I love the fact that Hunter Renfrow was on the team, he's been an afterthought. And it's sad because he is a hometown kid. But unfortunately, there's no place on this team. And now you're seeing why the Panthers were confident in not bringing Adam Thielen back. Now, however, we need to find an Adam Thielen-ish type wide receiver. Could that be Jalen Coker? I don't know. But we've got to be able to run the football. We can't just run the ball 20 times for 101 yards and average 5 yards a tote. Meanwhile, our leading rusher in Dowdle only had 29 yards on 9 carries. Now, this goes back to what I was telling you guys when y'all fell in love with Rico Dowdle. Am I saying he's a bad player? No. What I'm saying is when a team figures you out, they're not going to let... This is a National Football League. This ain't college. And see, now Chuba's getting to the point. 6 carries, 27 yards, averaging 4.5 yards a tote. 3 carries less. But he had 2 yards less than Dowdle. So I'm not hearing all the rumblings about go back to Chuba. Go back to Chuba. Look, maybe when Canellis gave us the good news, and if many of you don't know, Robert Hunt is nearing his return. That's right. We get this guy back, y'all. I tell you, we get Robert Hunt back, it's going to be over for anybody that plays us. Because, guys, remember how effective this running game was last season against the Eagles? You heard me right, the Eagles. We have got to come up with different ways to run this ball. Because it's imperative that we run it. And I saw a pretty darn good game plan for the Carolina Panthers yesterday. And it involved Xavier Legette, whom I am now going to get to. I think XL's a good kid, and I really get tired of hearing about his story as being the number one reason why people want to keep him around. I'm not of that sentiment. I think he's a talented player. I think if teams are not allowing us to run the football, I think there needs to be creative ways we get him the ball. Because he is a bigger version of a guy like Jimmy Horn Jr. He's very elusive when he can get the ball and open. Look, there's nothing changed about Legette from last season to this season. He is a somewhat gadget guy. He's a DK Metcalf type player. And I know a lot of you are going to say, don't use that reference. Well, it's what he is. Look at his body type. He's a big physical guy. Having trouble at times with the sidelines at times, but realistically, until he can get there, and I'm tired of hearing people say we don't have a 2 to 3 or a 4 or 5 year stretch to figure out what he's going to do. Look, we cannot keep wasting guys. I'm being honest with you. I get it. You know, Mingo is not doing anything where he is right now, but realistically, a lot of times what happens is when one organization say that this guy is this, he gets in a slump. Darren Waller was there at one point. How many guys have we seen come into the National Football League? They don't. Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, perfect examples. They weren't terrible, but they weren't what we could do, what we needed. So nobody gave up on them. It just became a situation where it's not working out here. You don't want a guy like XL to leave this organization, and then once again you're looking for a true number 3. Now I know a lot of you are going to say, well, give Jimmy Horn Jr. an opportunity. Or Bryson Tremaine. Realistically, to me, XL has a quality that you don't see in a lot of receivers. he has that running back type mentality if he can ever get the ball in his hands. What's happening with him right now is confidence. Same thing with Bryce. Panther Nation, we have got to come up with some confidence. The reason why Jalen Coker's playing like he is because, yes, he has earned our respect, but realistically, he's got his own fan base, the Cokeheads. Guilty as charged. Bryce trusts him. And I'm not saying he don't trust Excel, but realistically, Coker is literally balling out there. And in the tightest windows and spots, Bryce trusts him, along with T-Mac, who also had 10 targets in this game for six catches, 73 yards, and a score. He had a great back shoulder catch. And I think ultimately we've got to start trusting our guys more. This is a huge issue that we've got to get through. Mitchell Evans, once again, that Notre Dame boy, 3 for 23. I told y'all, he going to get on the scoreboard again before this is over with. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, you looking here, you got Tommy Tremble have 1 for 6, and then you had Jatavian Sanders, his 1 for 9 and a score. Beautiful touchdown throw by Bryce because even Austin Corbett said on it, he whiffed on the block. To me, he is the weakest link on this team. Well, not today. It wasn't. Yodi Nyman was the weakness on this line. He was getting beat up pretty good by this pass rush for the Buccaneers, whom have seemingly started to blitz a whole lot more now, given they can't get any pass rush, which has been rare because in the past, Tampa Bay's defenses have been very good at getting pressure with only 4. Not the case this year and even bits of last year. But this offensive line has done a commendable job considering this is the 11th lineup, different lineup they've brought out here. So when I hear everybody talking about the level of attrition other teams are dealing with, yeah, Bryce missed the game this year. You've had Jalen Coker missing action. I think Tedero McMillan was on the injured list maybe 1 or 2 games. I don't know if he missed the game. I think he played in every game. I think so. And you've seen XL. Jatavian Sanders, Tommy Tremble, and even Mitchell Evans missing time. Rico Dowdle's been banged up. Chuba Hubbard's missed time. So all this attrition by just certain teams, look, we don't want to hear it. And you guys shouldn't hear it either because when we lost Robert Hunt, a Pro Bowl lineman, that's painful. I don't care what anybody says. When you lose a caliber of a lineman such as Robert Hunt, those are huge shoes to have to fill. Now, as far as our center position goes, Corbett went down, and Cade Mays has done a phenomenal job. He's picked up where he left off last season to the point that, as I said, and it worked out. I think people are still thinking that Carolina needs a center. I don't. I think we've solved that problem. I think we could very reasonably draft one because I think Corbett's going to be a more expensive, more than likely he's going to be a guy that's either going to be cut or asked to take less money so he can fill in a backup role along with Brady Christensen. Needless to say, if we can get these receivers, well, let's just say we get Canellis to appreciate what he's got, basically a basketball unit in his receiving core, we need to take more shots down the field. And I know what people are going to say. Third downs only. Look, I don't like the third down shots because you're asking Bryce to be perfect on every single one of them. Just like the one he threw where Tech got his hands on it was a little bit too far out in front. I'd like for those throws to be up high. So that Tech can show us what he did at Arizona, and be able to use his frame. Much like, well, you really can't say he used his frame. Bryce just put that ball in a beautiful spot. The one he threw the touchdown on. But let me go into the details of this offense and how it works so well. And like I said, this game felt a lot like the Saints game. This was just a game that if you look back in the Buccaneers, all they can say what they did wrong was that Baker just had a miscommunication with, Mike Evans. But I'll point back to something. Do you guys remember when we kicked our field goal with a little bit over 2 minutes left? Keep that in mind because those count as part of the middle 8. You guys do realize that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the ball for nearly half the quarter in the third. It's significant because I want you guys to hit the rewind button. Now keep in mind, the Panthers were trailing. If I recall correctly, it was 10-6, I think. And when they kicked the field goal, Todd Bowles looked like he was pulling a earlier version of Dave Canales. And let me explain about it. How many guys remember the frustration when we get the ball with about 2 minutes left and we weren't sure of ourselves and we'd run the ball, get nothing, and then just try to run it out and go into the half? Well, Canales was in a position like that this evening. Except this time he was the aggressor. We got the football back, and I think it was like $1.52, $1.53, something like that. We proceeded to drive down the field. And culminating with that 22-yard touchdown pass to Tedoroic McMillan, which was a beaut. And I'm just hearing everybody roasting Todd Bowles for calling an all-out blitz on that situation, which I don't blame him. I'm going to sit here and tell you, I don't blame him. Because all that was Bryce Young. Offense line did okay. But all that was Bryce. He put that thing out there where Tedoroic McMillan could go get it. Now, most of you don't realize they scored 10 points in just under 2 minutes. In just under 2 minutes. Which turned out to be the difference in the game. Because out of halftime, what do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do? What do they do? What do they do? Y'all tell me, what do they do? They proceed to keep the dag-blasted ball up until about, 6 minutes left? They ate up damn near over half the clock. They ate up over the half the clock. And then the Panthers proceed to go down the field and do what, y'all? What do they do? And guys, let me tell you something. What really felt good about this game was that when the Panthers were able to do what they did, like I said, they ate up over 8 minutes of that clock. Did I say 9? Yeah, my bad. But then what the Panthers proceeded to do was they had an 11-play, 65-yard drive, culminating in that 6-yard scramble drill that Bryce did. And Jatavian Sanders doing a great job finding a great big behind gap between two Buccaneer defenders. And much like the touchdown he's got on the montage here, or introduction, I think ultimately what Canales is going to have to start doing, we're going to have to just start creating plays. Because Bryce's escape a bit. Look, we can't keep depending on Bryce to escape. A lot of what was happening to Bryce early on in his career was he was taught to stay in the pocket. You can see that beginning to not be so much the case anymore. Not saying that he doesn't trust his guys in the pocket. But what is starting to happen is Bryce is not getting settled in the fact, and he's got elusive, just absolutely impeccable escape ability. And unfortunately, we're going to have to get Hunt back. Nyman did not look good today. He looked okay. Because even on that throw where there was a throw that was later on in I think it was the fourth quarter where they got a field goal. Well, it was the game winner, actually, on the drive where it was the game winner. And what's amazing, guys, I got to say this. I don't want to cut into that. But, guys, these drives were so freaking long, y'all. These drives were so freaking long. Look, there was only 2 possessions. Excuse me. No, I'm incorrect. I'm sorry, y'all. There was only a handful of drives in this game. There weren't very many. And what I loved about the coaching of Dave Canales in this game, it's almost like he had a sixth sense on this. But there was a drive there where Nyman got help from Jatavian Sanders, and he still couldn't keep, I think it was Diabo. I think it was Diabo for the Buccaneers. Yeah. He couldn't even control him then. And now I will admit this now. Bryce didn't look in the right spot, but the way this play was designed, it could have been offensive interference if it would have been a horrible official. But Coker runs straight up the field, and Horn's guy collided, and Horn just flatlined him. He kept running his route. See, now, your ordinary garbage variety of officials probably would have thrown offensive interference on that one. But Horn was wide open in the flat, and there was nobody within 10 yards of him. So I think ultimately Bryce has got to do a better job there. I think if he had a little bit more time, he would have looked over there. But I think ultimately, you got trips over there, you got to look over there. I think it's imperative you look over there. Beautiful play call. Bryce has got to make the effort to look there. You know, if it's nothing else, you look over here, and then boom, you got him sitting right over there. That would probably be the only mistake that I could say Bryce made all day. Yeah, he was phenomenal. He's gotten so much more comfortable with his mobility, knowing what he needs to do. I just want to see more out of Dave Canellis in terms of throwing it down the field, getting XL more involved, and especially getting Jalen Coker more involved. I love Teteroy McMillan. He's a big play waiting to happen. But I would like to see some deep balls thrown to Coker off of Teteroy McMillan's plays. I think you should put them on both the same side. Better yet, if you're going to put them on opposite sides, heck, put Xavier Legette in there and let him go. I don't understand why we're not throwing Jimmy Horn the ball down the field. This kid can fly. To me, he reminds me a lot of Ted Ginn Jr. Remember that guy? Mr. I could not throw him. Let him get in the slot and run one of those pylon routes, corner routes. Let him line up on the opposite slot and then ride all the way over to that opposite corner. And then you got like a Ted or a Coker in route. Let Jimmy Horn run in behind him. Catch me if you can. Guys, I listen, as a former coach, you just see things that you can develop. And I think you can run those when you get Robert Hunt back. Hopefully, Ike Ekwonu will be back to 100%. Yeah, we've got a tough one this week. But, guys, I'm not done talking about this one just yet. But let us get to the guys that I really want to give a real growl out to. And that would be the Carolina Panther defense. Absolutely. All right. To the man of the hour for Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. 5 grabs, 31 yards, and a touchdown. And he was covered mostly today by Mike Evans. And you guys remember what I said about letting J.C. Horn travel? Maybe I need to eat some crow. You know what I'm saying? Because Mike Jackson just played his absolute butt off. Maybe he's listening to guys like, well, I gave Mike Jackson some credit. There's a lot of people that didn't give Mike Jackson his props. Said, oh, Lord. And I don't get me wrong. Mike Jackson was getting picked on quite a bit early in the season. He done shut that down. I'm telling, I don't know what's done gotten into him. We knew what he was capable of. Or what he could be capable of. He's starting to do it. I don't think it's going to be so easy to say, deuces, Mike. I don't think it's going to be so easy. I know we need to be looking in the draft for a young man that's going to have that length. Because ultimately Mike Jackson's going to be pushing 30 not here real soon. And you do want a guy like this who is a good boundary corner, but you need one that's seasoned as well. I think ultimately Mike Jackson's probably going to get some entertaining offers after his deal is up. I think he's got another year. J.C. Horn had a good game, but, you know, we were talking about these rookies. Man, these jokers are just killing it. Between the young Shaw Smith-Wade, who's in his his second season, excuse me, Nick Scorton, Lathan Ransom, and Princely Emmanuel, you just can't say enough. You know, Lathan Ransom's probably had the worst 8 days of his life. Not by myself. Because y'all heard me. I didn't say anything negative about him. I love this kid. To me, I think Nick Scott's on borrowed time. He just is. Because the way Lathan Ransom is playing right now, sorry, Nick, you might be playing well, but yeah, it's just a matter of time before those missed tackles you have. I mean, you've been solid tackling the ball the last couple of weeks, but I see you're eventually going to see Lathan Ransom paired up with Trayvon Merrick. That's good. That's just inevitable. The guy makes a huge interception to close this game out. Just absolutely phenomenal when it looked like Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers were going to run down here, maybe get a field goal and win this thing. I can't be any more happier for a guy whom is probably taking a lot of flack on radios. I've heard a lot of people say, you just don't do that there. What is he supposed to do? I mean, like I said, Shook even admitted it, and I thought that was pretty messed up considering a guy that I respect. But hey, you do what you got to do to win, and he did. But probably the worst part about us winning this game is the fact that we did not win last week. Now, I will say this. It gives me an opportunity to continue to do content that you guys care about for the next 2.5 weeks, because without it, wouldn't have much to talk about. You know, we'd probably be talking about what starters are going to play next week and the week after. But now we're in a situation where, look, we can't just give up. This challenge we got coming is a big one. But I'm not going to go into that just yet. I'm looking at the way this game went as we were able to collect 2 sacks as Derek Brown and Christian Roseboom, who almost had a second. They're really starting to feel. This is why it's so hard when you're in the National Football League. When you finally get it going, it's so important to have a backup plan that can work for your vision. Because let's keep it in perspective, you guys. Nobody in their right mind saw Christian Roseboom as being effective. I heard so many of y'all said, "Oh, this is a linebacking core that really does not get my feathers up in a, you know." And you look at a guy like Christian Roseboom, who had 8 tackles and a sack, as well as had a hit on the quarterback. And then you look at a replacement for Trevin Wallace, who was actually pretty darn impressive, with Chris Barnes, who had a tackle himself. And you can't be any more. And Claude and Sherrillis, who played well. You got guys that are starting to play better under Evero's system. This is what I wanted you guys to understand. When y'all are sitting here criticizing and chastising Evero, this is what Dave Canellis was talking about, is trusting the execution. Now we're starting to see the execution come to fruition. Now, granted, it is against a team that is seemingly going in the toilet right now. And possibly, if they don't right this ship, you're going to see the end. You're going to see the end of this coaching regime in Todd Bowles. But I cannot overstate how much A'Shawn Robinson has benefited with the return of Derek Brown. He has just played so well with him in return. And you even got to see Bobby Brown out there balling out. Even LeBron Ray had 2 tackles on the day. I mean, when you're sitting here watching these guys playing up to their potential, even Princely Emmanuel Millen had a big tackle in the game. You know, Ransom only had 1 tackle, but that interception was just absolutely game-changing. Well, it was game-closing. And granted, this is what so many of you guys out there in social media world, as well as platforms, social media platforms, are saying, and even the media are saying about why it was so important that the Panthers realized that 20 points being enough. That middle 8 was so crucial. If Canellis sits on it with 1:52, I think it was, we don't win this game. Because Tampa Bay gets the ball back. Now, granted, many of you will say, well, you don't want to give them an opportunity, and, you know, they get the ball back in the second half. They can double up. They can double dip on us. True. But you got nothing to lose right here. You could literally look at this game and say, that would have cost us. Which brings me to the captain and leader of this team. Bryce Young. 21 of 32, 191 yards, 2 scores. I'm really sick of the narrative all you're going to get is a sub 200-yard performance out of Bryce. That's the kind of quarterback he is. No. If Dave Canellis consistently understands that he needs to call an aggressive style, I think you could get the best out of Bryce. I think ultimately he's a fast-paced kind of guy. Did you guys see how he went down the field in the 2-minute drill? This is what he does. And ultimately, I get it. Many of y'all are going to be like, we want to play a ball control type offense. I get it. But ultimately, Bryce is fit for the up-tempo. I don't understand why this is so difficult for Canellis and many of you out there to understand. Bryce is comfortable in the up-tempo. He just is. I think it needs to be noted that he needs to be able to play up-tempo. I think he does a great job with it. I think he understands it. And I think it's where he is able to navigate easier. Look, people sat there and said he does not have a strong arm. I disagree. I'm seeing him putting up throws. He just looks like it's effortless. This little bitty guy is throwing the ball 30, 40 yards down the field and it's looking effortless. I'm not seeing him put a whole bunch into it. He's not looking like a guy that's just rearing back and just trying to throw it as hard as he can. Sorry, that's just me. And that accuracy he had on the two throws to Coker and McMillan, precision. You can't throw him any better than that. I'm telling you, we got something, y'all. And when Bryce is on his game, Canellis needs to stop holding him back. It's just that simple. Once again, I'd like to give my major growl outs to Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, Tommy Tremble, Mitchell Evans, and Jatavian Sanders, as well as T-Mac and Bryson Tremaine for doing such a great job blocking down the field. Canellis, I am going to beg you. We need to get other guys touching the football out of the backfield, such as XL, as well as Jimmy Horn Jr. Jimmy Horn Jr. needs to have more than one touch in a game. He does not need to have one touch, and that's it. That just ain't cutting it. That ain't cutting it. If you can't run the football, that's your fault. You cannot just give up on it. When you had that reverse, mental Rolodex, we'll come back to that. Or, how did they say it? Bookmark, come back to that. It's not that complicated. It's not. Let me know what y'all guys think. Very big win, you guys. Absolutely huge, huge win. Very ecstatic about what's to come. Glad we are getting off of this get rid of Bryce bandwagon, even though there's several of you still running around out there. I hope not on my channel. But guys, show them this show. And if you guys can see Dave Canellis, keep, showing in my show. Because the more we get to this is what this platform's about. If any of you guys want to see Jimmy Horn Jr. get the ball more, see XL get the ball more in the running game. Because, guys, look, as long as Ted McMillan's on the field, everybody's going to be keying on him. We got other studs, y'all. We don't need another wide receiver or a tight end. We got other guys. We ain't even used Bryson Tremaine or Jimmy Horn correctly. Better yet, we haven't used Tommy Tremble that much either. Jatavian Sanders. These are guys that can stretch the field, y'all. I don't care what the experts say. They can stretch the field. Canellis has got to trust them. Bryce has got to trust them. Sorry to go on another rant, y'all. Make sure you guys go down in the comments. If you are a first-time viewer, make sure you put your name down below. If you are a first-time subscriber. If you have subscribed to the channel, leave your name down below so I can give you a growl out. Yes, I know you guys have been promising you the shirts. The shirts are designed. I'm having trouble. If you guys know a good shirt producer, hit me down in the comments. Or put a link down in the comments. Or if you are one, we'll set up a deal. Go over to my Facebook page and group at Growlin' and Prowlin'. Make sure you join and add us as a friend over there. Make sure you check out Loma Vita and their Christmas stuff that they have out as Christmas is rapidly approaching. You want to make sure you got the wife or the girlfriend something, and maybe try out TF Man for yourself. Don't forget the 20% code. Finally, make sure you go over to Instagram, my Instagram, at Mr. CeeLo, so you can keep up with all my in-season and off-season shenanigans that I will be into. But until the next time, don't forget to be like the Panthers and leave your mark while prowling the airwaves and growling out. Keep pounding!